guys, how are you? How are you doing? How are you feeling? So first of all, I want to address the obvious. I am wearing my Venezuelan jersey. Venezuela has been through a lot since Wednesday. Good and bad. It's kind of scary. It's kind of uplifting. So Juan Guaido just declared himself the president of Venezuela, the interim president of Venezuela, which is a huge step for Venezuelans. This, I think, is going to bring a lot of change, and a lot of countries are backing him up, which is so meaningful to everyone. I really hope the best for him and his plans and his mission and everything that's going to happen. This is going to be the change of Venezuela, and I'm praying to God and for my Venezuelan people for this to turn out, because they have been through so much suffering for the past 20 years since Chavez ruled the country. And I know this may be off topic, you didn't come here for this, the title doesn't match what I'm saying right now, but it's really important that you guys are aware of what's happening right now, because it is so important. And Venezuela just wants freedom. Venezuela just wants peace, and we want our health, our economy back to normal. So please keep Venezuela and the Venezuelan people in mind for the following days and for the following weeks. This is probably going to be a long procedure, but I really just hope for the best and that there's no violence and that this just gets resolved as best as possible, as soon as possible. Just had to get that off of my chest, but let's get straight onto the video. So I did a poll on Instagram for you guys to decide. I did this yesterday, and I wanted you guys to decide for me what to film for the last story time of this Storytime-a-thon this week, and I am going to show you guys the results right now. So as you can see, I asked you guys I can't read backwards, hold on. What should I film for tomorrow's last video of this week's Storytime-a-thon? So unemployed and I didn't know it got 69 yes and 31% no. 3 years hiding my skinny body got 70% yes and 30% no. And finally, our winner, my sugar daddy experience, got 94% yes and 6% no. So that's the story time that won the vote. I'm gonna wait for my camera to focus back on me over here. Hello? What you doing? What you doing? There we go. Okay. So yeah, that's the story time that won the most votes, which means that's the one I'm gonna film, because I give the people what they ask for. You ask, and you shall receive. So we are here today to tell you guys a story about my sugar daddy experience. So this story goes back to 2014. I was single and mingling to the max. I don't know if this was my first time getting Tinder, but it was definitely the time that I was on Tinder that I was the most kind of active on there, and you know, meeting a lot of new people and whatnot. And I was loving it. I was having so much fun. I was meeting new people and, you know, finding out a lot about myself. Tinder doesn't only have to be about dating and, you know, like a lot of people use it for like hooking up. Like, it doesn't have to be about that. It can also be a lot about getting to know other people, and through that, getting to know yourself, finding out some stuff about you, because they might ask you things that you never even asked yourself. Like, what do you do on your spare time? I don't know, nothing. No, just kidding. But basically, like, going on dates and getting to know different people, I really recommend. If you are the kind of person that's not really into that, that's different, but if you're ever considering it, I really do recommend it. You can be really disappointed, I will not lie about that. There can be really bad dates and whatnot, but at the same time, you not only learn about yourself, but you learn about what you like, what you don't like, what your preference is. Like, you find out if you have a type and like what fits with you most, what's compatible and whatnot. So it's a lot of fun. I definitely don't regret it. Tinder did lead me to my boyfriend today, so Tinder is not something that I look down upon, because I mean, I found the love of my life thanks to Tinder. So we're gonna call this Tinder boy Bob, the sugar daddy. So basically, Bob and I matched in 2014, summer of 2014, and we were talking, you know, casual, getting to know each other. It wasn't very flirty at first. It wasn't like your typical Tinder, like wink wink, flirt flirt. Like, it was just like casual, you know, getting to know each other, and then so on and so forth. And eventually he wanted to meet me. So the first time I met him, so this is the thing. I did not expect this to turn out the way it did. This sugar daddy experience wasn't planned, wasn't like intentional, it just happened. So basically, he comes to pick me up for a date, and I tell him my address and everything, and I go downstairs, and he says he's gonna take me to Moxie's. So I'm like, all dressed up, whatever. But I go downstairs, this is when I lived at an apartment, and I am like, oh, like, I don't see your car, because all I saw was like a really fancy car, and I'm like, oh, like, I don't see your car. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm right here. And I'm like, what? And he's like, I'm in the black car. And the only black car that was out there was a freaking Mercedes-Benz, fancy as hell. I don't know much about Mercedes-Benz, but it was like a really fancy Mercedes-Benz, like one of the new ones. And I was like, oh, okay. So I went in the car, and I'm like, hello, how are you? Nice to meet you, Bob. And he was really cute. What was he? I think he was half Canadian, half Portuguese or something like that, but he was like really attractive. And yeah, so we went along our way to Moxie's. And Moxie's was fairly new at the time. I don't know where Moxie's ranks at the moment in like the Kitchener area, but back then it was like pretty fancy, like especially for a first date. I was like, oh, like Moxie's for a first date, okay. So we go to Moxie's, and the first thing he does is like assure me like, get whatever you want, as much as you want, don't worry, it's on me. And I'm like, okay. And I will say, I'm not the kind of girl who like just goes to restaurants and gets like a salad. Like, I like my meat. So I don't know, I don't remember what I got, but I must have gotten like a salmon or chicken or something like heavy. The waitress came around and grabbed our order for our drinks. And I was just like, oh, like, I'll just have a water. And he's like, did you even take a look at the drink menu? And I'm like, what? And he's like, you're getting a drink, right? Like, look at all the drinks. There's so many good drinks here. And I'm like, oh, well, I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know right now. And so then the waitress had to come back and get my order. So I looked at the drink menu, and he's like, oh, like, what do you like? And I'm like, oh, like, I like sweet stuff. And he's like, oh, like, would you look at this? And like, basically like encouraging me to order a drink. And I'm like, okay. And that might sound a little sketchy, but like, he was literally just like genuinely wanting to make sure I was satisfied with my order, I guess. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but so basically he's like, yeah, like, you should get this and whatnot. And then he was ordering like appetizer, drink, I think he ordered 1 or 2 drinks for himself, and he ordered a dinner, and then he was also going to order dinner. Like, he was going all out, so he wanted me to match his. Like, I just wanted water and food. like a glass of water and a main plate of food. But he was like, no, like, let's go all out. Like, this is our first date. I want you to enjoy yourself and like have a good time and whatnot. And I'm like, okay. So I was just going along with the flow, and yeah, I ended up matching his order, even though I told him, I'm like, I'm not gonna eat, like, because, you know, appetizers in most places are pretty big and they're shareable, so like, I'm not gonna eat an appetizer by myself. And he's like, that's okay, at least you get to try it. And I'm like, yeah. So after much convincing, I ended up getting an appetizer, a glass of water, a drink, a main, and then like we got a dessert. Like, each of us got a different dessert, and like, he was like sharing his food with mine, I was sharing mine with his, and it was like really cool. I had never been on a date like that was like so much food for 2 people. And it, like, I hate being wasteful, so I hate, like, you know, ordering more food than I'm actually gonna eat. I usually just have like an appetizer to myself or a main for myself, but he was like, no, like, we gotta go all out. And I'm like, okay. And then he's like, don't worry, like, we'll get the rest takeout if you don't finish it, like, it won't go to waste. And I'm like, okay. So we do that, and we're getting to know each other, and I'm like, okay, like, so what do you do? And I don't remember if was I in school at this time? No, I had just graduated, so I was going into the field. I was really broke, so this emphasized more of the like money part for me, because I was just working at Booster Juice. I was just a smoothie girl. I made smoothies for a living, so I was just working part-time trying to get in the field of early childhood education. I was trying to find a job for that. And he said he worked for, I don't know if I should say the company name, but it was like a really big company. Let's just say that. And he wasn't very boastful, like, he was very nonchalant about it. And he did say he had a very unique schedule. So he had irregular hours. One week he would have one schedule, the other week he would have a different schedule. Yeah, so he worked at a very big company. So I was like, okay, so he makes like pretty good money. And I don't remember how old he was. He was like a year, no, 2 or 3 years older than me, so he was like established and everything and whatnot. So the date went really well, and then he was like, oh, like, do you want to come back to my place, or what are you thinking? And I'm like, I'd probably rather go home, just because it was like the first date, right? So he took me home, and then we continued to talk throughout the days, you know, text back and forth, and he basically brought up the fact that he had a dog. If you guys don't know me, I love dogs. I love any breed dog. I am a little bit afraid of bigger dogs, but he had a little French bulldog, and he was so cute. He sent me pictures, and he's like, I really would love for you to meet him. So I'm like, okay, like, you let me know when. So a couple days go by, and we arranged to see each other again. And basically he's like, oh, I'm gonna come pick you up, and like, let's just hang out at my place. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. So this is where it started getting a little fishy. So not like at the time I didn't clue into it, because I was like, oh, he just has like weird hours. But he came to pick me up like really late. At first I just thought like, oh, like, is he trying to make this like a booty call or something? But he wasn't even like pushy. Like, he came to pick me up really late, and we went to his house. We literally just sat there and hung out. Like, we were just talking. He wasn't even like doing any moves. No, we were just talking and getting to know each other, you know, like our interests, our hobbies, what we're into, what our different opinions are about different things. And I met his dog, who's so cute. I'll put a picture here of him if I do find it. It's been a while, so I have to dig through the like archives. But his dog was really cute, and I loved that. He actually imported this was another thing that was like, okay, that's bougie. He imported his dog from like France or something, somewhere in Europe, and I was like, oh my god, how do you do that? And he's like, oh yeah, like, you have to pay for like their transportation, and then like make sure he's verified from like a real breeder or something like that. Like, he was like intense about this dog. So I'm like, okay, wow, this dog must have been really expensive. And he's like, you know, like, he was very nonchalant about it. And I think that's when you know someone has money, when they don't flaunt it and they're not like, you know, showing you all the cash. And like, he was very humble about it. So at this point I was like, okay. Oh, and I forgot to mention, before I got there, I was like, oh, like, you know, this guy probably lives like in an apartment or like a condo, you know, single guy. No, this guy lived in a full out house, 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bathrooms or something like that, basement, like 3 floor, everything. Like, it was like bougie. It was such a nice house, and I'm like, oh, you know, like, you have a really nice place. And he's like, yeah, like, I work hard for what I want. And I'm like, okay. So that was that. We stayed up like really late, just like hanging out. And then he dropped me off at home, and you know, it was another pretty cool little hangout slash date. The next time we hung out, we actually just hung out in his car, which was again a little bit weird. His explanation was that his dad was staying over because he's from out of town, so like he was staying over at his place, so he like wanted to just be alone with me, I guess, to have some privacy. And then we just hung out in his car. We went somewhere. It was nighttime, but like it was right before like restaurants closed, so we actually went somewhere. He's like, do you want to go, are you hungry? And I'm like, not really. So he ended up just getting like a bunch of takeout food from a restaurant, I can't remember where, but again, like, just blowing all the money. So we hung out in his car, and I just like nibbled at some fries that he had, and we again were like talking, having a good time. And this night we stayed up so late. Like, we literally saw the sunrise. Like, we were just having such good conversations and whatnot. He was a very smart guy. I remember that. He was very good at talking, you know, like, he could hold a very good conversation. So we literally saw the sun come up, and he's like, oh, like, my dad's probably gone to work now, so we could probably go back to my place. And I'm like, okay. So we go back to his place, and again, I'm with his dog, and he's super cute. We hang out a little more at his place, and then he says, oh, like, I actually have a couple errands to run today. Do you want to come with me? And I'm like, okay. So it's like one of those spontaneous, like, wherever the wind takes me kind of days. Like, I was having a good time, and I was, you know, I could trust the guy. He wasn't weird. He wasn't creepy at all so far. And then so he was like, okay, let's run some errands. And I'm like, okay. So we went to the mall, and I can't remember what he was getting. I think he was getting some kind of gel or something, and I went with him. We were going through the bay, and we were walking through. I think he like stopped for a little bit to look at some men's cologne. So I'm like, okay. While he was looking at some men's colognes, I was like sniffing some women's perfume. And so basically I landed on this one. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was the Britney Spears one, like the pink one. Fantasy? Yeah, Britney Spears Fantasy. And I was like smelling it and I'm like, oh, this smells so good. Just like to myself, because he was like off to the side on the men's side. But then he comes over and he's like, oh, like what are you looking at? And I'm like, oh, like this is like my favorite perfume. I ran out of it or something like that. And I was saying that it was like really good. And he smelled it and he's like, oh yeah, you really like that one? And I'm like, yeah. So he literally grabs a box of it and just walks away, and I'm like, huh? So I follow him and I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, you like it, right? Don't you want it? I'm like, no, like you don't have to get that for me. And he's like, no, like if you ran out of it and this is your favorite perfume, I would love for you to have it. It smells really good. I like it too. So let's go, come on. And I'm like, oh my god, huh? Like, what do you say? And I think I'm more of a, like, you know, girls who usually will do the whole, like, at restaurants, they'll be like, oh no, like, I'll pay. I will wait for the guy to take the lead to see, like, to feel out what he's like if he'll look at me or if he'll all of a sudden, you know, immediately say, like, I'm paying. So I'll usually wait for those cues to see it, because I don't know what kind of person they are, and I'm not, like, overly, especially at the time, I wasn't overly wealthy, so it would be, you know, great if a guy could pay for a meal. Not that I believe in any standards or whatnot, but I do know that some guys do feel pride in doing that, so I'm like, oh, go for it. So I'm not that kind of girl who will say like, no, let me pay, I'm gonna pay. So at this point, when he's buying this perfume, I wasn't gonna say like, oh, I'll pay for it, because I wasn't even thinking of buying it. So I'm like, okay. So he buys this perfume for me and I'm like, oh my god, this guy is crazy. Some time goes by and we're getting really close and whatnot, and I remember my friend at the time wanted to meet him, and I'm like, oh, like there's actually a UFC fight that him and I are wanting to go see at his friend's. Do you want to meet his friend and maybe we could have like a double kind of date thing? So she agreed and we went, and they ordered, you know, pizza, wings, they paid for the pay-per-view for the UFC fight. I was really into UFC back in the day. I still would be if I had the time to watch, but I don't watch anymore. I can't remember who was fighting at the time, but we went to his friend's condo, which was also very nice. And yeah, we had a really good time. They bought a bunch of beer, they bought wine. Like he would go all out. Like he would never do anything like halfway. He would always just do it like over and beyond, or over and beyond, above and beyond. That's what I meant to say. So basically that was that, and I think that was the first night that like we kind of like kissed or like made out or whatever. And then another night we went out, and he was like, oh, like what do you want to do? And I'm like, well, me and my friend would really like, I actually kind of had plans with my friend, but he was like, you know, welcome to join, I guess. So I told him that we were gonna go to the bar. And he's like, oh, what bar do you want to go to? And it was funny because I was never so used to all the decisions. Like whenever we would go out to eat, he would ask me where I wanted to go, except for the first date. He took me to Moxie's because he wanted to like set the standard, I guess, for the fanciness, the bouginess. He always asked me where I wanted to go, what I wanted to eat, what I want, like it was always what I wanted. And he was like, yep, and we put down the bills, put down the card, like just, it was insane. So basically we go to the bar with my friend and his friend. So it's the four of us, and he, you know, pays for the cover, pays for the drinks, pays for the pizza afterwards, and then we go back to his place and we do the do, which was great. But this is where my fun comes to an end. So the night that my camera just got full and I had to do some transfers, but anyways, so where was I? So yeah, after we did the do, or during, actually, we'll talk about the do. So let's just say this guy was gifted, so that was, you know, good and whatever. So, but the thing was, he was very rough. Like I was like, oh my god, and I'm like a tiny girl, so like that's like painful. No, but anyways, we won't get too much into that, but I'm just saying, like, just the tone at which he would speak to me. And I'm not a talker. I'm a screamer, but I'm not a talker during the do. So basically he would like, I don't know how to say this, but I was traumatized after this for the longest time whenever I heard the words good girl, because anything I would do during, you know, the business, he would just be like, good girl. And it was it wasn't hot. It wasn't cute, it wasn't hot, I wasn't about it. I was like, what is going on? Oh my god, I know this guy got money, but I don't like this. And this is the only time you'll find out why that this do happened, because not only because of that, but just because of the things that happened after this. But anyways, so yeah, he was like he made me feel kind of awkward, so I was like, whatever. I was really drunk, so I wasn't like overly sensitive to it. I was just like, well, that's kind of, you know, weird, but whatever. So it's kind of unfortunate that what took place the next morning took place after he got the cookie. But so basically I slept over, you know, I was drunk, I was hungover, and then I wake up, put on my clothes, you know, the morning after. And I had never, this was the first time that I was upstairs in his house. So we were in his bedroom, and you know, his bedroom was really nice, huge king size bed, of course, like super bougie, whatever. And I had never been to the washroom upstairs, and I really needed to pee, you know, that morning after pee. So I go to the washroom. Tell me why. I sit on the toilet and I look over, and I think this house was fairly new because he had very minimal stuff. Maybe he was a minimalist, I don't know, but he didn't have any like curtains on his shower. And it was like a tub, the kind that you would put a curtain on, but he only had like the clear curtain on it. I don't know why he didn't have the outer one, like the pretty like decorative one. I don't know if you guys know what I mean, but like, you know, that kind of like see-through one. So he had one of those, and I just see out of the corner of my eyes, I'm sitting on the toilet having a pee, this like pink figure in the shower, and I'm like, I'm gonna be nosy. So sure enough, I hop off the toilet now, as I'm done. Pull that bold pat, blah, 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 why can't I talk? This makes me nervous. It was such a nervous moment. So basically, I pull back the curtain and I see a girl shampoo and a girl conditioner. Like pink shampoo and conditioner. And I'm like, solid, okay. So I go to his bedroom and he's awake now, and he's like, good morning, beautiful, and all of that, you know. And I'm like, hey, why is there girl shampoo in your shower? We had been seeing each other for like a month or two, and I wasn't being like a psycho, but I was just like, what is this? What's going on? Like, I thought I knew you. You know what I mean? Like, what is that about? And he could have just been like, I don't know, tell me some crazy story like, oh, it's my sister's, or, and she came to shower here once. Like, oh, like, I don't know, some, you know, reasonable thing. But no, this is what he does. Oh, that's girl shampoo? That's weird. Dudley! He starts calling his freaking dog. He wanted his dog to save the situation. No, do not use your dog against me right now. So I'm like, take me home. And I was entitled to be sassy because I was like, I am not wasting my time. You have wasted your money on me for what? For why? Because by the looks of it, he had a girlfriend, he was married, or he had another boo thing. I don't know if I was the side chick or she was the side chick. I don't know, but I was like, I'm not about this. So he's like, okay. So he gets up now, he gets dressed, whatever, and I'm not even talking to him, I'm not looking at him. I was so pissed because I was like, you know, I was feeling this guy, and it wasn't even the money, it was just like, we were really getting along, we were really getting to know each other, we were really close, and, you know, he was so invested in me, time-wise and money-wise, that it's like, you really think, with a sugar daddy experience, that, like, this guy's all for it, you know? Like, what guy would, you know, blow all this money on some random girl? But apparently, he was just a sugar daddy because I don't know. He took me home and I was pissed, and he was like, okay, bye, and he came to try to kiss me, and I just like left, smashed it, or not smashed, but like slammed his freaking Mercedes-Benz door, and I went about my day, and I didn't talk to him again. He kept texting me saying like, what did I do wrong? What happened? And I just stopped talking to him. I ghosted him because I was like, I don't care if you got money. I don't care if you blessed down there. I ain't gonna be taken for a fool. And that's how that went, and how I ended my sugar daddy experience. It was fun and all, but pretty unfortunate ending. Tinder has brought me some very interesting adventures, and that's not the last of them, but we will leave it at that. There's a lot of more stories to come with my Tinder experiences, but that was, you know, one of the most funny and weird and unique and like shocking ones, because I had never thought I would be the kind of girl to get caught up with like a sugar daddy who would like blow so much money on me. But yeah, a couple days after, he like finally stopped texting me, and he posted something on his Instagram, and it said something like, when girls catch feelings, and I think it was he posted a meme from the UFC fight we watched, and it was like a guy like dodging the punches or whatever. So I was like, are you saying I caught feelings? And I went crazy. No, I dropped you. Are you mad now? Are you mad? So he was mad, obviously, because he was so petty about that. And it just made me think, like, catch feelings. Like, so I never saw a wedding ring on him. So, like, I'm still to this day, like, I don't know if he had another girl on the side, or if he had a girlfriend, or if he was married. So who knows? I don't really know to this day who my sugar daddy really was, but I just know he had the money. It's fun while it lasted, but that's that. I hope you guys liked this video. Thank you so much for watching. I have enjoyed your guys' support so much. Keep voting for my polls. I love seeing what you guys want to see. Comment down below what you would like to see next. That would help too. Subscribe if you haven't already, because it's free, and I will see you guys next time.